Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss about fourth ventricle. Now this is the fourth ventricle, which is a cavity of hindbrain or rhombencephalon. So in front this is the pons, and here is the upper open part of the medulla, and behind there lies cerebellum. So all around it is bounded by pons, medulla and cerebellum, and in between there is a cavity which is tan shaped on sagittal section is the fourth ventricle. Above it is in connection with the cavity of midbrain, that is cerebral aqueduct, and below it is in connection with the central canal of closed part of the medulla, and beyond that with the central canal of spinal cord. So this is the cavity of fourth ventricle. Let me show you a section of fourth ventricle. This is how it looks like. So just to give you an orientation from in front, this is the crus cerebri of midbrain, this is pons, and this is medulla. And as we have discussed, behind to the pons and open part of the medulla there lies a cavity. So here is a cavity, we have removed the cerebellum. So what you can see from behind, this is the cavity, this is part of the roof, and lower part of the roof has been removed. So just compare it with this section. If you see it from in front, you can see half of the pons and medulla which are cut, which are intact over here. And when you see it from the side, you can really appreciate that behind will be the cerebellum which has been removed. And once we remove the cerebellum, we can see the fourth ventricle from posterior-superior aspect like this. So just try to imagine this like this from posterior-superior view. Now you can compare it with the intact brain. So this is the intact brain, and if you see it from in front, you can see the brainstem, and you can compare the brainstem like this. So midbrain, pons and medulla, the same thing over here. And when you see it like this, here will be the cerebellum, and that we have removed. So as I told you, it is a cavity of hindbrain found between pons and medulla in front and cerebellum behind. See over here. Now the cavity, as I told you, in sagittal section looks like a tank, and it is having some recesses, some angles. It is having walls in the form of lateral walls, roof and floor, and according to this subheadings we will discuss this topic. Now first is the recesses. These are blind diverticula within the cavity, and there are 5 recesses, namely 2 lateral dorsal and 1 median dorsal. Let's first understand the recesses in a diagram. There are by and large 5 recesses in relation to the fourth ventricle, 2 lateral dorsal and 1 median dorsal. Now these 2 lateral dorsal recesses are found dorsal to the inferior cerebellar peduncle at lateral angles. They are found between inferior cerebellar peduncle and peduncle of locules, and at their extreme there are 2 apertures. You can see these are termed as foramen of Luschka, and they are providing communication between ventricular cavity and cisterna pontis. So here lies an enlarged subarachnoid cistern, that is termed as cisterna pontis. So the CSF from this fourth ventricle will be poured from the ventricular cavity to the cisterna pontis. Now sometimes the horizontal limb of the underlying choroid plexus may bulge out through this foramen of Luschka, and they are found in relation to the floccules of the cerebellum. Similarly, 2 lateral dorsal recesses are found on either side of the median dorsal recess. They are in relation to the inferior medullary velum. They are in fact found above the inferior medullary velum on either side of the midline. And this is the single median dorsal recess found within the wide core of cerebellum above the nodule. So it is found at maximum height of the roof at the convergence of superior and inferior medullary velum above the nodule. Certain books are also mentioning that there is a 6th recess that is found dorsal to the obex. So by and large there are such 5 to 6 recesses or the blind diverticula within the fourth ventricular cavity. So as we have discussed in the diagram, the lateral recesses are related to the dorsal aspect of the inferior cerebellar peduncle, and let me show you first. This is the lateral recess. See, my probe is going inside, or I can show the probe from in front. See, here you can see at extreme of the lateral recess there is an opening, that is foramen of Luschka, and it is found behind or along the dorsal aspect of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So let me show you the inferior cerebellar peduncle. See, these two are inferior cerebellar peduncle and they are connecting the medulla with the cerebellum. See this. This is the pyramid, olive, and next is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. And the same thing you can appreciate from over here. So here will be the lateral recess. Now this is flocule of the cerebellum which has been preserved, and here will be the peduncle of this flocculonodular lobe. So here exactly will be the lateral recess between the peduncle of flocule and inferior cerebellar peduncle. So this is what I wanted to show, that this is a part of choroid plexus, see the vascular fringe, and this generally bulges out from it. See over here, this is portion of choroid plexus bulging out from the foramen of Luschka. You can appreciate it. Here is the foramen, and the same thing we can see from behind. So here on right side also you can see over here there will be lateral recess and foramen of Luschka. So these are two lateral recesses, and at their extremes there are formation of two foramen of Luschka. Similarly, posterior-superiorly there will be median dorsal recess and two lateral dorsal recesses. Now if you see the sagittal section, you can clearly make out that here is the median dorsal recess, and that will reach to the white core of the cerebellum as we have discussed in diagram. Now this is the nodule, so it is found above the nodule. So here is the median dorsal recess, and this is the lingula. So basically it is found in between these two, reaching up to the white core of the cerebellum, particularly above the nodule. Okay, this entire thing is vermis. Okay, it's a sagittal section. So this is nothing but entire vermis which is cut from the midline, and everything you will get will be part of vermis. So here is a nodule which is a part of vermis. So here will be the median dorsal recess, and on either side of it you will get two lateral dorsal recesses. For that we need to remove this entire cerebellum, and we need to reach to the roof, so as exactly we can see the two lateral dorsal recesses. Now this is the intact brain, pons, medulla and cerebellum, and I wanted to show you the lateral recess and foramen of Luschka plus the choroid plexus. So this is pyramid, olive and inferior cerebellar peduncle again, and this is the cerebellum, this is flocule of cerebellum. So in continuation of flocule there will be peduncle over here, and between peduncle and inferior cerebellar peduncle, as we have discussed, this is the foramen of Luschka. Okay, and the probe will go into the lateral recess and then into the ventricle. Now through this, as we have discussed, the choroid plexus may bulge out. See, this is the choroid plexus, and this is the area of Pontine cistern. So this foramen of Luschka will open into Pontine cistern, and it will communicate ventricular cavity to this subarachnoid cistern, and CSF will drain out from it. Now next are the boundaries. The boundaries we will discuss in the heading of lateral walls, roof and floor. Now let's see first the lateral walls. You can appreciate two superior cerebellar peduncles connecting cerebellum with the midbrain. Now this is a midbrain. These two are superior colliculi and these two are inferior colliculi. So obviously this is a part and parcel of midbrain, and these two are the bundles of white matter connecting cerebellum with the midbrain, and they are converging and they are forming supralateral boundaries like this, and at their meeting point there is formation of superior angle deep to this. Similarly, infralateral boundaries are formed by two diverging inferior cerebellar peduncles. These two are, they are connecting medulla with the cerebellum, that again we have cut from over here. So you can appreciate two inferior cerebellar peduncles. Again from in front you can appreciate pyramid, olive and inferior cerebellar peduncle. So here these two are diverging inferior cerebellar peduncles forming infralateral boundaries, and their meeting point over here forms inferior angle. Again, two superior and two inferior cerebellar peduncles, when they meet they form lateral angles, and particularly infralaterally the boundary is supplemented by two tubercles, gracile and cuneate tubercles. They are produced by underlying gracile and cuneate nuclei. You can see the bulge. So infralateral boundary, apart from inferior cerebellar peduncle, they are supplemented by two gracile and two cuneate tubercles. Now next boundary is a roof that is slopy, that is formed by two slopes, superior and inferior, that is tent shaped. Superior slope is formed by superior medullary velum, inferior by inferior medullary velum. And let's first understand the formation of roof in a diagram. So here is a roof which is tent shaped. It is made up of superior and inferior medullary velum. This superior medullary velum is a thin sheet of white matter and bridging the gap between the two converging superior cerebellar peduncles, and it will reach to the white core of cerebellum. You can see over here, and above to it there lies lingula. So this is the superior medullary velum. Similarly, below there is inferior medullary velum. It is nothing but tila choroidea of the fourth ventricle. It is made up of double fold of pia mater. You can see this green outline. So this is ventral layer and this is the dorsal layer. Both will reach to the white core of cerebellum and then they reflect back. Now this dorsal layer will line the vermis in the midline and laterally it will line the cerebellar hemisphere, whereas this ventral layer will reach to the dorsal aspect of the medulla and then it will extend all around as a pia mater, and within these two layers there lies choroid plexus. And as we have discussed, extensions of choroid plexus or the horizontal limb of choroid plexus may bulge out from the lateral recesses through foramen Luschka into the pontine cistern. Similarly, over here, this expansion is termed as cerebellomedullary cistern. It is an enlarged subarachnoid space. This is the arachnoid matter. So this is enlarged subarachnoid space. And below this ventral layer shows in the midline an aperture. This is termed as foramen of Magendie. So this is the ventricular cavity, and over here through this foramen of Magendie the CSF will come out into this cisterna magna or cerebellomedullary cistern. So lateral recesses through the foramen of Luschka, they pour the CSF into cisterna pontis, whereas through foramen of Magendie the CSF is poured into the cisterna magna. So this is how the roof is formed. Let me show you the choroid plexus again. See this is superior medullary velum. It bridges the triangular gap between two converging superior cerebellar peduncles, and above to it there lies lingula. Whereas this is inferior medullary velum. It is non-nervous, thin double fold of pia mater. And laterally you can see these are lateral recesses. These are the two foramen of Luschka, and this is the choroid plexus, T-shaped, and sometimes the horizontal limb may bulge out through this foramen of Luschka, and it is seen in the cisterna pontis. Here the CSF will pour into the cisterna pontis, and the vertical limb is related to this foramen of Magendie, which is a gap in the lower part of this inferior medullary velum. And as we have discussed, this foramen of Magendie is a communication between fourth ventricle in front and cisterna magna behind. So CSF from fourth ventricle will enter into cisterna magna through this foramen of Magendie. Now above this inferior medullary velum is related to this nodule. It is nothing but part of the vermis. So two vermal region are related to the roof, one lingula in relation to the superior medullary velum and nodule in relation to the inferior medullary velum. So this is what we have discussed in diagram. This is the superior medullary velum, and you can appreciate the same in this specimen. So here will be the superior medullary velum. See this one, and you can appreciate from inside. This is the superior sloping surface, and see it from behind. These two are converging superior cerebellar peduncles, and the triangular gap between these two is filled by this white thin sheet that is termed as superior medullary velum. Now in the midline in relation to the inferior collicula you can see a frenulum. This is termed as frenulum velli, and you can clearly make out the trochlear nerve, stumps of trochlear nerve. See this. Now trochlear nerve is the only cranial nerve emerging out from dorsal aspect of the brainstem, and once they emerge out they will decussate in the midline to form frenulum velli. This one is, and then they reach to the opposite side. So these are the stumps of trochlear nerve, very small in size, and it will supply superior oblique. And this triangular structure is the superior medullary velum. As we have discussed, it is related to the lingula. This is the lingula, part and parcel of vermis. You can see it is tongue-like. So this is the superior medullary velum. You can see it from inside. See this one. Now here is the inferior slope of the roof that is formed by inferior medullary velum. As we have discussed, it is having ventral and dorsal layers, and in between there will be choroid plexus. You can see some portion of choroid plexus, and it will reach up to the white core of cerebellum, and here somewhere will be the foramen of Magendie. Now if you want to see this inferior medullary velum and superior medullary velum both from the posterior superior aspect, we need to make a specimen like this. And here this is the nodule. So we need to reach to the nodule. We need to cut the entire cerebellum from posterior aspect, and once we reach to this point, we'll see the roof from behind. So let's just try to remove the portion of cerebellum in an intact brain, and let's just try to see the intact roof from behind. So here is the intact brain with brainstem and cerebellum. First we will cut the brainstem so as to separate the brainstem with the cerebellum. So I'm cutting the midbrain from crus cerebri. These two are the mammillary bodies, and this is the interpedunculair fossa. That is what we have discussed in base of the brain. I am nearer to the optic tract. Here I have separated this. As you can see the cerebellum. So here will be the vermis, and deep inside will be lingula and nodule. That is what we have discussed. These two are cerebellar hemispheres, and there are three cerebellar peduncles that connects the brainstem with the cerebellum. So here this is the middle one, middle cerebellar peduncle on other side, and this is what we have seen, floccules and all this we need to preserve. Again you can appreciate the cerebral aqueduct. So deep inside will be the fourth ventricle. So we need to cut everything piece by piece. So let's just try to remove this cerebellum so as to expose the fourth ventricle from behind. See, this is the pineal gland. Just it's irrelevant to this today's topic, but I wanted to show you this is a pineal gland. Here it is very much soft, delicate, and but it is preserved. So as I wanted to show you, these two are superior colliculi, these two are inferior colliculi, part and parcel of midbrain. This is white core of cerebellum or white matter of cerebellum deep inside the cortex. So we have partially opened the roof, and these two are lateral dorsal recesses, and deep inside will be the ventricular cavity. Here will be deep to it will be the inferior medullary velum, and deep to it will be the superior medullary velum. You can see two inferior cerebellar arteries, their branches, and they are, as we have discussed, they are forming choroid plexus. Okay, so this is the choroid plexus. See this. This is the nodule. Here will be the inferior medullary velum. We have removed the dorsal layer. So this will be the ventral layer of tila choroidea, and you can see deep inside the choroid plexus. See this. Now you can appreciate this is the choroid plexus, and you can see the lateral recess, and that will enter into the ventricle. See this. I'm cutting middle cerebellar peduncle. See, this is pons and this is middle cerebellar peduncle. and I'm cutting this. This is the floccules as we have discussed, and vestibulocochlear now. Here is the lingula. That is what we have seen in that specimen. This is the superior medullary velum, and these two are stumps of trochlear now. See this over here, it is preserved. This is frenulum veli, and this is superior medullary velum, and these two are superior cerebellar peduncles. Let me just clean it a bit, and so as the things will be more clear. Now this is the nodule, and this is the lingula. So in between these two, here will be the median dorsal recess, and these two are lateral dorsal recesses. So that is what we were discussing in diagram. So lateral dorsal recesses are situated above the inferior medullary velum. This is inferior medullary velum on either side, and within the white core we will get median dorsal recess over here. So this is a zoom view. You can now appreciate, here will be the inferior medullary velum. This is nodule, and this is how the choroid plexus looks like, vascular fringe on either side. These are the vessels, and this is what I wanted to show you is in the center, as we have discussed in diagram. This is inferior medullary velum, and in the center in lower part you can appreciate foramen of Magendie, through which the CSF will drain out into the cisterna magna. So this is foramen of Magendie, and deep inside will be the ventricular cavity. See this. So these two are lateral dorsal recesses. Here will be the lateral recesses, and this is foramen of Magendie. Here will be the median dorsal recess. Just see, it is empty deep inside. So here is a recess. So I have removed the choroid plexus, and this is nodule I am reflecting up just to show you the inferior medullary velum. Can you see this deep inside? Very thinned out. It's a single layer of pia mater which is left right now. So this is inferior medullary velum. So here it is just to compare it with the section. So here we are, superior medullary velum, superior medullary velum. This is the lingula, and here is the lingula, and here will be the nodule. This is the nodule, and deep to it, very thinned out inferior medullary velum. So here is the inferior medullary velum, very thinned out, and here this is the lateral dorsal recess, lateral to this median dorsal recess. So deep inside will be the median dorsal recess, and here will be the lateral recesses and foramen of Luschka. So here laterally deep inside we will get foramen of Luschka and lateral recesses. Now next to the roof is the floor, and this is the floor all around bounded by peduncles. And let's first understand the floor in a diagram. So here in this diagram it is to show you the floor or rhomboid fossa. Now there is a median sulcus dividing the entire floor into two equal halves, and each individual half is further divided by another sulcus. This is termed as sulcus limitans. So this is median sulcus, and this is sulcus limitans. This will divide the floor into different parts. So each half is termed as medial and lateral area. This medial area is elevated. This is termed as medial eminence, and this lateral area is termed as vestibular area. Now developmentally, this medial eminence is derived from basal lamina of the neural tube, and mostly the motor nuclei are found beneath it. Similarly, the vestibular area or lateral area is derived from LR lamina of neural tube, and mainly various vestibular nuclei are found beneath it, namely superior, inferior, medial and lateral. Now this vestibular area extends up to the lateral recess, and most extreme part over here shows an elevation. This is termed as auditory tubercle. It is produced by underlying dorsal cochlear nuclei. Now when you see the sulcus limitans above and below, it shows two depressions, namely superior fovea and inferior fovea. The superior fovea above flattens out in the medial eminence, and it shows a bluish gray discolored area. This is termed as locus coeruleus. This is part and parcel of reticular formation, and electrophysiological study are suggestive of this area is responsible for paradoxical sleep. It is rich in melanin as well as it is rich in norepinephrine. Similarly, at the level of the superior fovea, in medial eminence, it shows two elevations. These are termed as facial colliculi. Now, these are produced by arching fibers of motor nucleus of facial nerve around abducent nucleus. So, deep inside, there will be internal genu of facial nerve around the abducent nucleus. This is an example of neurobiotexis. Now, here you will get the internal genu, whereas there is an external genu found within the middle ear cavity. So, there are two such genu for facial nerve. Now below, as we have discussed, the sulcus limitans shows another depression. This is termed as inferior fovea, and inferior fovea then reaches below towards the median sulcus, and it divides this medial eminence into hypoglossal triangle above and vagal triangle below. This hypoglossal triangle is further divided by a faint ridge into medial and lateral areas. Deep to this medial area there lies hypoglossal nerve nucleus, and deep to the lateral area there lies nucleus intercalatus. Now below the vagal triangle there is a faint ependymal ridge named as funiculus sapierens that separates a small area near the apex with the vagal triangle. So this small area is termed as area postrema. Now below this vagal triangle lies dorsal nucleus of vagus nerve, whereas below this area postrema there lies richly vascular neuroglial tissue and neuronal tissue, and this area is termed as chemoreceptor trigger zone. Just because it is behaving as chemoreceptor, it is devoid of blood-brain barrier, and any obnoxious stimulus can induce vomiting from this area. Okay, so it is considered that there lies vomiting center deep inside. Certain authorities are also believing that there lies respiratory center as well. So this is chemoreceptor trigger zone or area postrema between funiculus sapierens and gracile tubercle. This is gracile tubercle and this is cunea tubercle. So between these two, funiculus sapierens and gracile tubercle, there lies this area postrema or chemoreceptor trigger zone. Now along the infralateral margin, the ependyma gets thickened to form a white ridge which also extends behind this inferior cerebellar peduncle. These two are inferior cerebellar peduncle. So this thickened white ridge is termed as tinea, and below at the region of inferior angle, this tinea shows an extension which bridges the gap at the inferior angle and it forms part of the roof. This is termed as obex. Now superior and inferior aspect of this obex is lined by ependyma. Similarly, the tinea, its horizontal part, shows a demarcation, okay, like this. If you can imagine a horizontal line along the horizontal part of the tinea, and another horizontal line you will have to imagine from at the level of superior fovea. So by and large there forms, or developmentally there are three areas: upper, intermediate and lower area. The upper area is derived from isthmus rhomencephalai. This intermediate area is derived from metencephalon, and this lower area below this horizontal part of tinea, this area is derived from myelencephalon. Now in this intermediate area you will find horizontally running fibers across the midline towards inferior cerebellar peduncle. These are termed as stria medullaris. Now what is stria medullaris? These are the fibers coming from arcuate nuclei deep inside in relation to the pyramid, and from arcuate nuclei the fibers will pass through the substance of medulla and they will reach to this median sulcus, and then they will decuss it to go to opposite side to enter into the inferior cerebellar peduncle to reach to the cerebellum. Now what are these arcuate nuclei? These arcuate nuclei are nothing but displaced pontine nuclei. They are found in relation to the pyramid and they are providing an alternate pathway of corticopontocerebellar. So instead of corticopontocerebellar pathway, there is an alternate pathway reaching to the cerebellum via cerebral cortex to arcuate nuclei and to the cerebellum. So this inferior part of floor of fourth ventricle looks like a nib of a pen, and so as it is termed as calamus scriptorius. So that is about the floor we have discussed in diagram, and if you want to expose and see the floor from behind, we'll have to cut open a bit of both superior and inferior medullary velum. So let's just try to see the roof from this, and we need to cut open superior medullary velum, or rather the median dorsal recess. Okay, I am cutting open it. This is a last portion of white core of cerebellum, and I am opening it. Okay, now it is exposed. So here will be the median dorsal recess. These two are lateral dorsal recesses, and now you can clearly make out the interior. This is how the floor looks like. Now let's just again revise what are the structures seen in the floor. So here in another specimen, the inferior medullary velum has been reflected, and you can clearly see the floor. So this is the median sulcus. You can see medial eminences. This is sulcus limitans. These two inferior fovea are clearly seen. And here will be the hypoglossal triangle. Below will be the vagal triangle, area postrema. Here will be the facial colliculi. These two are superior fovea. See this. Deep to it will be locus ceruleus. This is the vestibular area, or we can say intermediate area. And you can clearly see horizontally running fibers forming stria medullaris coming from arcuate nuclei. See this. This is inferior cerebellar peduncle, so they are arching into it. Okay, and they will end up into cerebellum. So this is the rhomboid fossa or diamond shaped fossa. This is the inferior angle, and here if you see it closely you can appreciate obex, very thinned out structure forming part of the roof. See, this is the obex. Both front and behind it is lined by ependyma, and certain books are mentioning that dorsal to the obex there is a 6 recess over here. So this is obex, and these two bulge are gracile tubercles, and over here will be the cuneate tubercles. So this is how the floor looks like. See this again. So this is all about fourth ventricle. Hope you understood well. Thanks for watching.